All right, all of you freedom-loving boys and girls, men and women, welcome to CLS After Dark. That's right, you heard it correctly. Live from Duluth, Minnesota, CLS After Dark. Hey, it is the 22nd of November. Trying some little lighting things here. We're going to kind of jump right into it. You know, on my right, your left is, he's been on before, the man, the myth, the legend. Let me see. Former Ranger, Special Forces, Snake Eater, Bug Eater, movie star, man extraordinary. Hey, just in case no one has seen any of the previous episodes, Clint, you want to say hi and just give everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? This is Clint. I'm the owner of Nemesis Camouflage, and I also have a consulting company called Alpha Group Solutions. So I do some film and commercial military advising and stuff like that on some sets. Really got into the camo area a number of years ago as kind of an industry acquisitions influencer type, and got into that, and then started my own camo brand, and art for a number of years. We've gotten to know each other a lot better over a short period of time here. Mark worked with me in the past. I was lucky to get to have him work with me now on my camo pattern. And so that's where we're at. He's been gracious enough to have me on a couple of the other lives, and enjoy talking and swapping ideas and reaching out to people that are like-minded, and have a good time talking about some topics that people are interested in.
And I think that's what we're going to do tonight. So the title was just Grunts Talk Politics, and I kind of wanted to choose that title. And before we get into the meat of things, I just wanted to let everybody know why I'm choosing that title, is because I like how, so Pete Hegseth is one of, President-elect Trump has earmarked him, or kind of given him the green light, or however you want to say it. He said, hey, this is going to be my new Secretary of Defense. And I'd like how so many people have come out and said he's not qualified. So I felt, why not a better way just to have a couple grunts, because that's how they kind of view it. Doesn't matter Clint's pedigree and his background. It's like that scene from Aliens, like, no offense, but he's just he can't do that. He's just a grunt. And then he's like trying to backpedal, no offense. So I kind of wanted to do that because, we're just the stupid people. We've only been in that world and lived it our whole lives. And surprising to let some people know, but being in the military is actually working for the government. I know that's kind of crazy talk right there. So a couple grunts, just going to give you our opinion on some of these picks. We had a request from my loadout live last night for Clint and I to talk about a couple subjects, specifically what's going on in Ukraine, Russia's response to the use of ATACMS and Storm Strike missiles, and we'll get into that. But before I do it, Clint just mentioned, and now I'm trying to do late night live, kind of doing a little mood lighting and having it dark, but I hope this shows up. So over on Centerline, I use Clint's Nemesis Camo. We've got that in the next business day section, but I just want to show it off. So you're getting over here a sneak peek. I'll do a standalone video, Centerline Systems, not CLS After Dark, but a sneak peek of something we're doing with the G3. And you can see that camo pattern, the Nemesis. I wanted to show it off because this is a nice big product and you can see the pattern. It's really badass. Clint's got some really cool pictures up on his Instagram recently. Matter of fact, and I'll repost those here in the next couple of days. If you haven't seen Nemesis, Clint, where can they go to see Nemesis?
Well, the website is the Alpha Group Solution website, and that's where most of the products that I'm partnered with some people are there. There's links to find out. Mainly being a camouflage brand, like what I do with you, Mark, is there's different substrates. So you have mil-spec fabrics, you have hydrographics, and then you have infused plastics, vinyls, and really to have a camo brand is to make sure that people have pretty much all the options. Some people want to decorate a firearm. Some people want a backpack. Some people want to do custom holsters. So there's a lot of different substrates that these manufacturers use, and you got to make sure that you have all of those. So it makes it a pretty wide-ranging brand. It's one thing to have a camouflage, but you can only get it in one fabric, or you only have it on plastics or whatever. But as soon as you start liking that, if you can't go buy it somewhere else, it's not really a full brand.
Hey, I'm just going to just do this while we're talking. Let me just share that so people can see it. I want to give you a plug out, shout out. Hopefully, let me just come back over here to us.
Awesome.
Yeah, there we go. I'll do a full screen real quickly. So there it is right there, Nemesis Camo. It's alphagroupsolution.com. So again, alphagroupsolution.com, one word. And then, you see, I mean, look at them right there. Look at that, badassery right there, and a little bird. And yeah, so go check out his website, check out Clint, and see some of the other cool things he's done. And again, his, he's going to be like the new Clint Eastwood meets, yeah. All right. And then just real quickly, we had somebody Gene said, wow, G-roll and Nemesis, he just fainted. It is a G-roll, but stay tuned. Like I said, it's actually a modified G-roll. I've made a couple versions of this for some ham radio guys, and I'll do a standalone video, and I did it in Nemesis because again, a larger product really gets to show off that awesomeness. So that's Nemesis Camo. I'll do a standalone video on it next week, and I'll talk about it more, Gene, and you guys can see it in normal lighting. And then so we just got some people saying hi and checking in. Thanks everybody. Hey, and these live streams, again, you're a part of this. If you're watching live, leave a comment. If you want to come on, hey, I've got something to say and I don't mind people seeing my face. Hey, just, let me know and I can send you a link. So again, these live streams, I'm trying to bring on kick-ass people like Clint, DB, have really good adult conversations, and then even when we're talking about serious subjects like I did with Chappie, when we were talking about the VA, and then just trying to get it to be a little bit more exploratory and, maybe just challenge some people on like, hey, I never thought about that, or wow, yeah, they are just a bunch of grunts, but those were some good points. So again, these live streams are for you guys as well, hopefully trying to be entertaining. And on that note, let's just kind of jump into it. And Clint and I were talking, I think it was a little over a week ago, I'd called Clint up and we were just bullshitting one evening. And Clint, kind of gave me a difference of an opinion on some individuals. And it kind of got my brain housing group going a little bit. I'm like, that's actually kind of a good point. Clint, maybe we want to start right there, which isn't necessarily about the individual, but maybe the mindset behind some of these cabinet picks that are taking place. Is that a good place to start?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Well, so again, as I said, so I was like, hey, I'm, look, and everybody, we're not always going to be happy. It's just never going to be perfect, right? We're individuals and there's too many individuals. Like I don't like Mark Rubio as a pick, right? And that was one of the things that Clint and I were talking about. I think that was not a so good pick. So maybe we just start right there, Clint, and then kind of maybe just let everybody kind of hear your thoughts on, hey, maybe just shway, relax a little bit because there might be something going on behind the scenes that none of us are privy to, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll jump in on that thought. And I'm trying to remember back to exactly our discussion on the phone. But, I think you were a little bit more black pill than I was when you asked me last. And you said, well, how are you feeling about things? And I said, well, I actually feel pretty good. There's some things that are going in the right direction. It's not, we're not in the total death spiral, but it's kind of the indicators are the flags that are coming up, or it's going a little bit in a good direction. And I'll tell you, here's where we start with Rubio. Okay. I mean, All we've got is to go up from where we're at. I mean, the Blinken, I mean, everybody knows right now they are trying to turn this into a crap storm, just like they did. They had the pandemic ready for the not picked next president. So, oh, we got this guy in here now that we didn't want him in there. So we got this little plan. Let's throw this pandemic and ruin his administration. I personally think right now that what they're doing is they're trying to whip up the fury, and they're going to dump this on him. So he's got to deal with this. And that's what a lot is being reported. People are hearing it, that they're starting this problem. But like I said, we've got another 2 months basically until he's in office. But I know that there's calls going on. I mean, when you have, I don't know if I've spoke of this before, but on the lives, my wife is from Russia. She's been here for 20 years. We've been married for 20 years. And, so we have she gets to see what's going on over there. We talk about things. I've been to Russia. I know a lot of people from Russia. I've went to schools with Ukrainian special operations guys. So, I mean, I know people from these different places, and man, when you can see the politics that are going on, there's a lot of restraint going on until we can get to this new administration where we can get this stuff, stopped, because there's something really sinister going on, and everybody knows it.
I think when you were talking, you've used this as an example in our conversations in the past, and boys and girls, it's just if you've been in the military, especially if you're in the infantry, tier 1 type of units, you've been in a lot of helicopters. And I think Clint, has a great example, talking about, look, the helicopter's going to crash. Your example, I don't want to steal your thunder on that, Clint, if you want to say it, but
you've heard it a couple times.
Yeah, but go ahead. I mean, so because that's kind of how it all started,
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, there's the different kind of crashing. There's pushing the collective right into the dirt, and everybody's dead. You're going straight into the ground. Or, oh gosh, one of the engines went out. We're going to have to auto rotate and have a controlled crash, basically. But if you've got a good pilot, they can literally auto rotate that aircraft to the ground, and there's going to be some people that live.
Yeah. So, and you might have compressed discs and a bad back and broken knees and shit like that for the rest of your life. But there's a chance of survival that way, as opposed to just pushing the stick all the way forward and just going in nose first, right? And saying F it. So, you were kind of looking at it when we talked a little bit from that perspective. And I did not interpret your comments to mean that some of these cabinet picks are the equivalent of, nosing in or trying to do a controlled descent. But there is a little bit of that. I mean, it's like, because I think no matter what, behind the scenes machinations are already taking place. Look at Mitch McConnell. Look what he already did, for the majority leader, that whole bullshit with Thune. I mean, and no one knows who voted, politicians voting for politicians in secret, not telling anyone else about what, that's just effing wrong. And the fact that Mitch McConnell, a quote unquote Republican, we all know he's a swamp rat, right? That's all he is. He's made so much money off of being a politician. It's not funny. Go do your own research. His wife was the Secretary of Transportation, and suddenly he's able to buy the actual vessels, the ships that haul sea land containers. I mean, just imagine how many millions of dollars that is. So Mitch McConnell. So if somebody says, "Oh, Mark, you're just a Republican," no, I believe in freedom. I want to conserve American values, and I want to conserve our Constitution. That's what I believe in. You can have a difference of opinion. Mitch McConnell is a swamp creature, and we need to get rid of people like that. So these cabinet picks, now kind of turn this over to Clint. You've heard a lot of people talk about it. And, again, I'm President-elect Trump, or no one's ever called me up and said, "Hey, this is our secret plan." But it sure does seem to be, hey, we're going to probably hit the ground hard. Let's make some good decisions here. So we got some survivors, and those survivors are the type of people who are going to immediately, get out of the aircraft, in a controlled manner, and then get up there and start, covering down on their sectors of fire. kind of a bad military analogy, but is that what we, and now Matt Gaetz is out, Clint. I mean, well, let's circle back to Matt Gaetz, but let's just talk about Hegseth and some of the others right now.
I'll tell you, and it's kind of funny because my mother is a conservative junkie, and so she's pretty hard Trump. And sometimes I have to grab her feet and kind of pull her back down a little bit. And it's like, hey, when Gaetz didn't get selected, I said, stop for just a second and think. This is probably one of the most devastating positions that he's got to fill. I think he overshot the bow on purpose. I think that he probably wanted this lady in there from the beginning. I think he shot Gaetz at him because he knew they were going to melt down, and we're not confirming this guy. No way. We'll burn the city walls, and then he takes 3 steps back and puts Pam in. And it's like, she's really a little blonde pit bull. That's who I wanted. Yeah, Gaetz didn't even really want back in here, but he was my initial shot over the bow. And then they backed it off 2 steps and they got Pam Bondi in there. And now she's going to be a great AG, because she's a sleeper. She was a sleeper for the pick. That's my opinion.
No, this is funny. So boys and girls, Clint and I haven't talked for, near a week. This was a week ago when we were having this conversation. And that is so funny, sir. I had to drive and do an errand today. And I'm mentally thinking about tonight's episode. And I kind of threw that through my thought process as well. It's like, hey, what if this was all intentional? What if they brought in Gaetz and said, hey, look, bro, you won't have a snowball's chance in hell at the AG. But if you're willing to do this, and if we put your name forward, look at all this stuff that's going to happen, and it's going to guarantee this person that comes in, as you said, Pam Bondi, right? That's really weird you said that, because I was like, well, man, what if that was like a big rope-a-dope? What if they just did that? And look what they just fleshed out. They just fleshed out all those rhinos.
Yeah.
So to use,
it was beautiful.
Colonel Akbar, it's a trap. It almost was like they set a trap.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I told my mom, I said, do you think, just for a second, simmer down, do you think that they did that on purpose? Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Rob Roy?
Yeah, long time ago.
So
that's a great movie, by the way.
Marquis of Montrose looks at Archibald and says, you have a rare grasp of the conspirator's mind, when he already knew he'd done something wrong. But that's the way I think. So, I've even thrown the idea out there. Could it possibly be, could Trump be the biggest sleeper of all? And we've all been faked out. But I'll back off that just a little bit, because the government is not our solution. No matter who they put in there, we got a lot to fix. And I mean, we're way down the river right now that we're looking at some bad things happening. I mean, really a lot of the stuff hasn't come to fruition yet with the economy and the money, the currency, and there's other deeper undertows that are going on.
Yeah. Well, so a guy who's been on before, David DB, from out west, he's not going to be able to join us, but he's going to probably be able to get into the chat here a little bit later. And I'm going to save, but I'll just give everybody a preface. I'll wait until DB comes on. But to what you just said right there, Clint, well, 2 parts. One, careful what you wish for, right? Hey, other side, there's been some common sense. Hey, we don't want big government. See, that's how I interpreted, Clint's comments there. Didn't interpret that as a Republican or a Democrat. That was an American, a conservative kind of like, we don't want this. This is too much. It's, and when government gets too big, all it does is fuck all of us over. Again, no matter what, if you got an elephant or a donkey in your yard, it just fucks all of us over unless you're at that upper echelon of the power elite, right? And I think that's what people have to realize. And then, Clint, to your point, this is what I've been trying to say to folks. Okay, great. If you voted for Trump, your side won. There's a mandate, no matter how much mainstream media, legacy media, dead media wants to try to spin it, that was a resounding, hey, the American people have spoken. It's pretty clear. And it's funny, the only states that were won, or states where shenanigans, have been known to take place. But to me, the point is financially, like, I personally say we're nowhere near out of the woods yet, right? We are still in big effing trouble. No one wants to talk about the national debt. Like, I don't know how this didn't get brought up more, in my humble opinion, during the election process, the campaign cycle. Well, maybe they didn't get brought up because everybody feels it. Eggs are almost $5 a dozen. A loaf of bread, $5. A half gallon of milk, $5. I mean, like, you get a one bag of groceries for $30, $30 to $40 nowadays. So maybe it didn't need to get brought up. But to your point, Clint, even if your team won, if it's Team Trump, look, I personally think the other team, I mean, look, they're already $20 million in debt from their funding. Like, how did that even happen? Like, you had $1 billion in your campaign coffers and you overspent by $20 million. And look at the last 4 years. Look at all the money that's being dumped into Ukraine and every other thing in the world except people in America who need it, American citizens. But if we don't get the national debt under control, if we don't get just the inflation and the interest on the debt alone is killing us. And I think these are huge issues. And I still only give it 180 days. Yeah. I'll be on the record. Hey, by June of next year, there's all kinds of evil, horrible things that could still take place. Even if your guy won, if that's how you want to look at it, we are nowhere near out of, it's frying pan. Here's hello fire.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of, DB just said he's here. And well, here, Clint, go with whether you went on that. I'll let DB kind of, and we'll get back to DB's comments here, because I do want to give him a shout out, because kind of like you, he had some good comments to me the other day, and I'm like, yeah, I actually had forgotten about that or didn't think about it. But
what was
on the financial?
I saw the comment for just a second. What did it say?
Oh, so he's talking about libertarian small government.
Yeah.
And and all of those people who okay, we're kind of jumping into it. Yeah. I can't speak for you, but I can speak for me. Like, I remember when the Patriot Act I was like, this is a horrible idea. This is a bad idea. TSA, all of this stuff. So, like, those of us who've been preaching and talking about this back in the Bush era, that we have too much government going right now. And we've been trying to say, hey, less is more. Less government is better for all of us. Well, to DB's point, if you look at this last 4 years, we've had one side of the political aisle talking about getting rid of the filibuster, stacking the Supreme Court, using all of these powers to control the government, and then thereby, and by default, controlling the outcome of future elections. While DB's kind of thing is like, well, guess what, you idiots? You just created a monster, because this is what you wanted. You guys have been pushing for more and more government for years now. If you go all the way back into Barack Obama, and stymieing the efforts to reduce the size of government. Look at it right now. Look at everybody freaking out about Doge and Elon Musk and Ramaswamy. Like, the whole concept to a bunch of people of reduced government, smaller government, is really freaking people out. Well, you've created this political environment, and you've given the power to the political apparatus. And now, unfortunately for you, your enemy, the opposing political party, is now in control. And what happens next is kind of like, and to DB's point, I told you so. I told you this was a bad idea, having big government, because if Trump starts wielding big government and using the power that he constitutionally has, right? And hell, I'm surprised he hasn't come out and said, yeah, we're going to stack the Supreme Court. We're going to get rid of the filibuster. Hey, like, you can't do that. No, this is what you guys said you wanted. And now I'm going to use, hey, it's your rules. I'm just going to play by your rules. And I'm in charge for the next 4 years. So that's kind of what DB's point was to me the other day, Clint.
I'll tell you, there's a very painful statement that people like to make, and it comes around, elections have consequences. We had to live that for the last 4 years. We had to live those consequences. And guess what? Batter up. It's a new game. So sit down, keep your hands inside the ride until it comes to a full stop. But you're in it now, because elections have consequences, and your actions made people get out. Even though you were trying to tilt the game board, there was enough people that got out and voted that they were able to make it unstealable, and we still saw that in the Democrat run cities that didn't require IDs, which I have no idea why they would even have that. And I hope Trump does what he says he's going to do and require IDs throughout the United States. Every state required an ID, because then we would literally see the states that had no IDs would have probably went way further, even though we got the popular vote, even though we got an electoral college, swing states, more housewives, married women, blacks, Hispanics, everybody was bigger. I wonder what would happen in the states if they were required ID. And I hope
exactly it would. I think it would have been a Reagan Mondale type of sweep. Maybe she gets one state. Maybe unfortunately, maybe Minnesota because of Tim Walz. As the governor, but Mondale was from Minnesota. But to your point right there, that's not even clear. Minnesota went to Kamala, but again, it's the major urban areas, and but if you look at the rest of Minnesota, overwhelmingly, red. It's a conservative state once you get outside of our three main population centers. Yep. And to that point, I think you're right. I think had voter ID actually been the law of the land, which is crazy that it's not. And again, and if anyone says that's racist, sexist, this is, that is, you're just covering for the fact that you want to cheat. That's all it is. I mean,
all it is. Cigarettes, alcohol, drive a car, freaking get a hotel room. I mean, you can show a freaking ID for everything else. What's the problem?
Yeah. Well, and I also love how it shows how racist the side that claims to be for the little man. Well, black people have hard times getting IDs. Did you hear what you just said? That is like some racist ass shit. Black people can't get an ID card. Well, then, hey, then why don't you set up ID card charging stations? Like, all of your EV stuff that you were going to do, millions of dollars and not one, like the fiber optic, the internet to rural America. Nobody got it. Millions, shit tons of money spent. The charging stations, not, 7 were created, in 4 years. So, so again, I think Americans, black, Hispanic, whatever your melanin color are smart enough to realize no, I don't need the government to help me with this because you guys will just fuck it up. I can just go get my own ID. Right. So
it's, I can't wait. I want to see if Trump just stays on his normal modus operandi and delivers on everything he says, because right now he's riding into Washington on a white horse called vengeance. And, he's going to go in there. He's putting people in these positions, these administration positions, that when they say disruptor, man, they couldn't be any closer to the fact. They're disruptors. They're people to go in there that are literally, they're going to make people lose their cool.
Well, so see, that keeps now when you bring that up and just going into is Trump trolling everybody and he's the greatest disruptor of them all, because that, again, I keep thinking about that Matt Gaetz nomination because he would, hey, and if it would have went through and, it's almost a win-win. If no one says no to Matt Gaetz, hey, cry havoc and let's slip the dogs of war. That guy would have been ripping shit apart, right? A disruptor. But just having him nominated was enough of a disruption. And again, it showed all the traitorous, quote unquote, Republicans, rhinos. It showed the media. It showed the Democrats. It really got them to kind of open up and start talking about their game plan. And then to your point, hey, that was the disruption I needed. Now, we might be stretching it because, Matt Gaetz also did resign his position, so he's kind of out of a job right now. But something tells me, he might find his way over on Doge and be working with Elon and Ramaswamy or something. He probably will have a role somewhere in the cabinet, just not a,
I'm sure he'll be just fine either way. But, I've heard it too many times, and it's too apparent that a lot of these people are playing checkers, man, and Trump's playing chess. You can't pay money for experience. And that's what he has. He has successful experience, and he's going up against people that all they've ever done is play politics. You know, he has business world experience how to deal with companies and make, yeah. So he had 2 million when he started out. He made it into billions. How many people are out there that have had millions have went flat and lost everything they had? You know, I mean, this guy's a successful guy. That's who I want running the country. I'm
Yeah.
not just a hardcore conservative, you know, I'm a common sense party. You know, I want somebody that's running the country that ain't going to run into the ground. When you start talking about the debt and that now our debt payment is exceeding the national defense budget, and I mean, our it's sad to watch everything that's happened because I have these discussions with lots of people about, you know, what do you think about the military right now? I think there's a whole lot of people that were lifelong service members that are telling their kids don't go in the military right now.
So this is all anecdotal. Anybody watching this already knows it, but in case you don't, you know, just a disclaimer, just in all fairness. So I like Jack from Black Scout Survival. I've known him for a long time. We do business with each other. I make gear for him. But, you know, part of my morning ritual at like 6:30 in the morning, you know, I'm kind of having my cup of coffee, getting going. And he does late night lives. And if he did a live the night before, that's when I can sit and watch it. It's way past my old man bedtime. I'm having dinner at like, you know, 1900 nowadays and asleep before 2000, you know. But just getting old, I guess. But I watch that in the morning. And then, but just to your point, I like reading the chat as he's talking, because there's, man, though, from his video from last night, and he was talking about World War III, that leaked document from Germany. And maybe, you know, we'll get back over that for Angry Viking Veteran who wants us to talk about Russia and the ICBM, you know. But Jack's sitting there talking about that in his video last night. But in the comments, to your point, Clint, where all these people, there's, you know, like, yeah, I told my kid no. My kid wanted to join the Marines, you know, that, you know, like, and I think that is a sentiment that is, I mean, that, again, everything has consequences. Well, what did you think was going to happen when you prioritized, you know, the die agenda? You know, I know it's DEI, but I like the die, because follow that and you die, right? And then if we continue following that, and then to your point about disruptors, look at how everybody just started freaking out the moment he started talking about Pete Hegseth, and yeah, bam, bam.
It's what they say, man. You don't want to lose your cool. That's how you you lose a fight. You know, once you start, you can't think anymore. You know, and that's exactly what they did. They shot over the bow, man, and they all, oh my God, he knows where all the bodies are buried. You know, yeah. So I mean, that was like the last person that they wanted in there, other than Jim Jordan, or, you know, I'll tell you one that I'll throw this out, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. Clay Higgins, love that guy. You know who I'm talking about, Mark? The Louisiana guy.
I want to say yes.
He was in the military for a while, but he kind of was a claim to fame. He did a video while he was I believe a state trooper or a highway patrol. He come out, and I mean, it was the stuff that he said on that video. I can't repeat it all, but it was brilliant. And when, you know, he's a very intelligent guy. I love to see him talk when he's in Congress and up there on the committees, because he's nailing it. He's nailing everything. Very smart guy. But like I said, we'll slide right into.
I just pulled up a picture. I've pulled up a picture of him.
Yeah,
I have seen him before. It didn't really jump out at me. I just pulled up his picture here. Maybe I should share it in case that didn't jump out with anyone else.
Whether he wants to or not, I hope that guy at some point runs for president. When I think of a Thomas Jefferson or a Lincoln or the real celebrated presidents, this guy could be one of those. When he talks, you listen, and it's articulate, mellow, slow. He explains it, and he's just nailing it. Great leader right there.
Well, and you know, and I hope so. You know, we'll pull up the cabinet picks and kind of like, you know, just give everybody our opinion on who's being chosen so far. But, you know, back to the whole thing. Boy, I almost just disconnected my camera there. But back to the whole point of the disruptor and, you know, and I'm vengeance. You know, you hear the Democrats talking about, oh, Trump's going to do this and he's going to do that and he's going to use the military and throw people in jail. kind of to your disruptor and vengeance and to Clay Higgins and some other individuals, we are slowly, and this is where I'm not as black pilled, kind of more a little bit white pilled, like on your side on this. There is hope, right? There are some people now I wasn't as familiar with Clay Higgins, but there are others out there too. And as the younger, fresher blood starts kind of infusing itself, and we get rid of the Lindsey Grahams and the Mitch McConnells and the Romneys, and get those people the fuck out of the grand old party. And even on the Democrats, you see Democrats. What's that guy's name? He's not a comedian. He thinks he's funny. I don't think he's funny. Bill Maher. I mean, I grew up with Bill Maher. I know who that guy is. But you see even that side of the aisle saying the same things like, hey, this madness has to stop, and we've got to get back into being more of the Bill Clinton Democratic Party, so maybe there is hope, and we can get some people who can come together. DB had made a comment going back to the, hey, I'm vengeance, and it's new rules, and this is what you guys wanted, and this is what we're going to do. He had made a comment a little while ago. Trump should reach across the aisle and work with Democrats to expand the Supreme Court. That's still a good idea, right? Just a couple months ago, that's what the Democrats were all on board with. Well, okay, how is it a bad idea now? If you guys thought it was a good idea then, how is it a bad idea now? Well, we all know the answer to that, but the disruptor, I'm vengeance, and if we get some more of these Clay Higgins and other such people, look, I'm really happy to see that. And I always screw up the Ron and Rand Paul's, the dad is Ron Paul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like Ron Paul's now, finding a role, and there needs to be that, because we need to have that kind of classic liberal, third. Go ahead.
No, I want to just jump in here on one thing you just said, or what that comment was. And that's the beautiful thing about what Trump has done, is not only before he got into politics and he was schmoozing all these freaking rich people because he was in those circles, he knew them. He knew them all. And he was kind of a Democrat, but changed completely. And you've got Tulsi Gabbard that was in the Democratic Party, abandoned it, and is now a freaking conservative. So what's happening is they do have an inclusive administration. You've got freaking RFK. I still was blown away when RFK Jr. walked up on that stage and endorsed Trump. Historic, amazing.
Yeah.
And there's nobody. I would love to see them clean the food up, and the FDA and all that stuff. Because it's just bureaucrats. But
hey, before you go too far afield, though, I know there's people who don't like RFK because they think he's a vaccine denier. I would challenge those people to go back. Asking questions does not make you a denier, right? In my opinion, right? And again, some lamestream media just got their ass handed to him, trying to say, look, there's no difference between this box of Cheerios in America and this other, except for all of these chemicals. Are you guys serious? There's no difference. And then, somebody went through and broke down what all those chemicals are and how they process. And, now you've got all these reports about fluoride, so to anybody out there, hey, he's a vaccine denier. I don't think that's the case. I just think that, just like so many other, oh, you're a Nazi, or you're a racist, or you're a sexist. That's all we've done, is we just call anyone we disagree with, we call them a name, try to ostracize them, right? That's standard fascist propaganda, isolate your target, attack them. And you do that often by ad hominem, calling them names. I don't think it's a bad thing if we had somebody out there who was, questioning, hey, why are we taking this vaccine? Why is this vaccine being rushed? Why is the government allowing you to keep the ingredients and the studies secret for 75 years? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, okay, maybe he doesn't like vaccines. But that doesn't take away from all these other major issues. And that is what my ultimate point is. We all know something's wrong. This has been going wrong for a long time now. It isn't just Biden's fault. For me personally, I take this all the way back to the Bushes. That's kind of where I think it, Clinton got away with some stuff, and then Bush's came, and then, Bush Jr. came in. And that's where we really started seeing the overreach of government, in my opinion. Obama, look, if you ever see pictures, Obama and George Bush Jr., they're like the chummiest dudes in the world. Those guys, two wings of the same bird, you know? So anyway, I went on a little diatribe there, Clint. What do you got?
No, you know, and you said something. You have so many points as you're talking. I like to go back and hit them. One of the things that you said, you know, I see this psychological chess game being played where I love they're telegraphing. You know, they're telegraphing what they already know is going to happen so they can go back and say, see, we told you so. And it's like when they say, well, Trump's going to weaponize everything. Well, if you wouldn't have done something illegal, you wouldn't be in any legal jeopardy. But I know you already know you did something wrong. So you're going to say that he's going to come after you. Yep. And it's like, well, I mean, this is like, whoa, okay. I see what you're doing. We're not all this stupid, you know?
No, I think, and that's just it. So the hope is to, you know, flood the zone with so many stories and so much noise and so much bullshit. And in this case, you know, and maybe this isn't quite the time to segue over to the Russia conversation, but these events, look what we're not talking about now. You know, like, so, and that's, to me, that's actually what's been going on for almost 12 years. Our news cycle has been, you know, again, evil doesn't mean it's stupid, right? And they're flooding the zone with so much data, so much information that we're not stupid, as you just said. Yeah. But if you're just busy trying to put fucking eggs in your refrigerator, you may not have the time to be picking up all that. Look, I'll be the first to admit it. I still read about 30 to 45 minutes of news every morning. You know, that's kind of the CIA side of me. You know, just like when you first came in, you started reading cables, you started looking at the traffic, what's going on in the theater, you know, where I just came from, or where I'm deploying to next. And, or what about this thing? Or are we getting that recruitment, or did we get that intel? You just start your day getting yourself zoned in. I still do that every day. And I hate it, because I'd rather be, you know, like watching a funny cat video or something instead, you know?
Yeah. Really strange. And like I said, it's almost like they're trying to preempt what they already know is coming, you know? And I mean, it's like Mayorkas and Ray not even showing up to come come be questioned. I mean, what do they got to lose at this point? Perjure themselves some more?
Some more. Yeah.
You know,
well, they're not going to be held accountable for that perjury to begin with. Yeah. Now, this kind of goes into DB's comments, you know, but you know, like you see the Democrats talking about this stuff because they're afraid, because to your point, like, no, you actually did break the law. Like that Democrat in Pennsylvania still hasn't been charged with anything. And she came right out and admitted that she knew she was breaking the law and she was going to do it anyway. How is that person? Well, so I hate to say it, there has to be a reckoning. Like you or Mayorkas or Ray, you know, like whomever it is, look, take it all the way. One of the mistakes that I think Donald Trump did in his first presidency, this is now his third, would have been his third presidency. So, but his first presidency is Hillary Clinton she committed multiple felonies. I don't care if you're a Hillary supporter or not. She committed multiple felonies. There was maybe, and I'm not a lawyer, you know, not an injunction, but there was a, hey, do not touch your computer technology. Yeah. That is now going to be scrutinized. And then she went and broke it anyway, in clear violation of a court order. If me or you, boys and girls, if we did anything like that, look at cops today. We'll get thrown in jail and body slammed and tased and maybe killed for jaywalking. But these guys are doing this stuff. So to your point, Clint, maybe it does need to be a reckoning, or, you know, the disruptors, or I am vengeance, because if a crime was committed and, you know, you get a fair trial, really seriously start making it about, no, there is only one tier of justice. You can have, you know, the attorneys, the whole 9 yards. But if you're found guilty, Ray, Fauci, you know, like, you know, whomever it is, like, I can't even remember the special envoy to Syria who lied about troop totals to the commander in chief. Guy was DOD. You remember that whole thing back to, dude? Yeah. If there's not a statute of limitations, that motherfucker needs to go to jail. I mean, plain and simple.
Well, I mean, it's like you said. I mean, I lost my thought. No, these people, like I said, they've done things that are wrong. They know it's, and we've been in this. Just come back to me, the gridlock that we've been, where we can have a representative house do a investigation, but they already know, okay, here's this plethora of investigative work that we've done. We got bank records and we got this, but Schumer's just over there. I'm not even going to bring it to the floor. No, we're going to, talk about these other things, and we're not going to do that. On top of the fact that they know that they've got Merrick Garland sitting in there that's not going to prosecute anything that he doesn't want to prosecute. You have, there was a mandate, and they're trying to suppress that mandate right now and make it look like it wasn't as big as it was, but it was that big. Oh, yeah. And the elections have consequences, and when they put a Gates in the AG spot, or they put these people in these spots, Rubio, these allies, at least Trump knows. He knew the last time I screwed up, because I let a bunch of these holdovers stay in here, and they were all double agenting on me.
Well, I'm going to bring up DB's comment as we continue this, but I don't know if this is true. Again, we're just two grunts talking politics right now. Yeah. But what's his son-in-law's name? Jared Kushner. Yeah. I did see an article the other day saying that Kushner is still part of that inner decision-making circle. And, son-in-law or not, that to me would be, unless, again, there's been words spoken that we don't know about, but that's just another person I wouldn't trust as far as I could.
You mean like a conflict of interest?
Oh, yeah, well, because he had a lot to do with a lot of those double agents coming in the first administration.
Holdovers from the Obama administration, holdovers.
Well, and just even some of the people that Trump was willing to bring into his circles and
on the first election, right?
On the first one. Yep. And so now, again, this is just pure speculation. We're not behind the scenes. We're not privy to this, but you just, from, again, reading news and looking at anecdotal information, but to your point, I have to not be as black-pilled because, hey, maybe things have changed. So again, you kind of schooled me on Rubio. I would have been like, oh my God, the moment I saw that he was being considered, I was like, dude, Rubio he's a swamp creature. He's not to be trusted. But your point is like, yeah, that's exactly it. If Rubio wants to survive politically, he knows the gravy train he needs to be on right now. Yeah. And, and then to kind of use a Bongino quote kind of comment, I'll bring it over to you. I'm not looking to date Marco Rubio. So that's where I was kind of wrong. I personally wouldn't trust that guy around, my pet rock. But if you can make that guy be a positive, in your larger, force structure to accomplish your, to storm the objective, if you can make that happen, and then after the election's over, 4 years from now, then he goes back to being the swamp creature he is, we'll worry about that later. If we can use him as an ally or even as cannon fodder right now.
Let me ask you, and anybody that's listening, freaking type it in or whatever, correct me if I'm not wrong. Each one of the secretaries in the administration serve at the discretion of the president. He can switch them out anytime.
I believe, well, there'll be the nomination process. And then that's why people are talking about recess appointments, and that's a tool, and that's completely, constitutional and legal. Yeah. But yeah, well, that's what we saw that already, what Trump did, with how many, and why he arrested on Miley or Millie, whatever that traitor's name is. But, look at how many, chairman of the Joint Chiefs he went through. What, 3?
Yeah. And the point that I was making about that is if Rubio goes in there and he does a bad job, he does a bad job for himself. If he does a bad job for Trump, he's just going to get a new secretary.
Yeah. Well, and Rubio's political career will be over.
That's what I mean. So when he appoints these people, they're allies, they're disruptors, and he's bringing them in there because, it's like Hegseth, man. Those flagged officers. Oh, there'll be no major coming in here telling me what to do. You want to talk about a disruptor after Miley and the current chief staff, Yeah, they need a disruptor in there because some things have seriously went sideways in the Department of Defense, and you can see that directly through recruiting.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, I don't want to let us get too far away from it. I kind of want to circle back to DB.
Okay.
So I just brought up his comment. I'm just going to read it out loud. Hey, and thanks for everybody leaving comments. We normally on the CLS After Dark, we don't normally do the comments, but I'm trying to post them up though. But this one is important because again, it's a theme that I wanted Clint and I to talk about here. And DB really got me going on it, which is, the irony is the Democrats and the establishment Republicans, the rhinos, now we have a powerful executive who will use that power to dismantle the executive departments that have too much power, and then put that back down to the states and to the people where it belongs.
Yep.
And that's DB's point is like, careful what you wish for, because now you got it, so this is what you wanted, way back in the Clinton, Bush era, we were saying too much government. We got to rein this in. No one wanted to listen to us. Well, now you reap what you sow. And that is the Batman, I am vengeance. Matter of fact, and I want to play that clip at some point if people haven't seen it, but that's just it. And I think to your point, Clint, we see the truth of it in the legacy or the dinosaur media, how they're all freaking out about these disruptors.
Wow. Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's just amazing. I'm waiting. I am so excited to watch the shock and awe, because when he starts talking about, I'm not happy with our public schools. I don't like the power that they wield, and that needs to be kiboshed. They need to get that away from the federal level. It needs to be at the state. I believe that's one. And I mean, there's so many components of what's going on within our government: transportation, education, all these disruptors that they're putting in there, the Department of Defense, presidential appointees. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I'm just looking forward to the shock and awe, because I've been watching these short reels that Trump's been doing about the things what he wants to do. And the beautiful thing is he's not walking in there this time not knowing what's going to happen. He's going to be full blast day one. He's going to have a stack of executive orders to reverse all of this stuff that has crushed the economy, ruined the border. I mean, and it's all going to happen real fast. He doesn't even have to really go talk to anybody and go like, what should we do with that? No, I already know what needs to. Let's just get this done and move on to the next thing, because I've already done that. I know how to do that. So,
to your point there, and I'm going to bring DB's comment about mandates, because I just want to kind of my personal commentary to echo what DB wrote and what you just said is, it's only a mandate, right? Yeah, it was an ass whooping. It was a clear mandate. But there are so many swamp creatures and rhinos and people who are, look, this whole house of cards could come tumbling down. I mean, just come on. Do you think anybody in our, there's very few people, politically who probably don't have something that they need to hide, because they've been taking, kickbacks, graft and corruption, using their positions on boards, to get rich themselves or their friends to get rich, So there's a lot of people who are probably shitting themselves here. Look, and I'm going to throw eye patch under the bus. Again, this is just all speculation, but Crenshaw, and well, he'll even look at Joe Biden here. This is a better one. Joe Biden is on record way back in the day bragging, but he wasn't bragging. He was pissed off. He was talking about how poor he was, one of the poorest senators, one of the poorest politicians in American politics. And then now you look at his net worth, right? And so take any politician and you'll see what I'm talking about, right? On both sides of the aisle. So to your point, and the mandate, as DB's saying, but to your point, Clint, we need that. Because if there's ever going to be a way for us to change this and get back into being a one-tier system of justice for everybody, politician or whatever, or make these changes, these systemic changes that are good for every American, it's going to have to be like in that case, that is where you just want to just drive that collective straight down into the dirt. And because we need it almost to be like eviscerated, in my opinion, in order so we can build it back up and make it a more state-centric, individual, constitutional, moral, because it's not, and again, and if somebody's out there, oh, you guys are just being, right wing, what, dude, I'm saying the same. It's both sides of the fucking aisle, you idiot. You just want it to be your side, and that's DB's point. You just wanted it to be your side, that one that gets to exercise all this power. Well, guess what? You helped create the situation. And if the other side, the side that won now with a mandate, and then I'm going to shut up because this comes to something Clint was saying. Hey, so Thune and, and all these other guys, Lindsey Graham and whomever it is, right? On the quote unquote Republican side, I think Clint is absolutely right. This is where my black pill turned a little bit more into the white, and hope side after talking to Clint, because Trump could go in and just ruin the careers of these people. I mean, it could be all over. No more lifestyle, no more, special vacations, or, I'm on a fact-finding mission to, the Bahamas for 2 weeks. All of that shit will be gone. And some of them might be brought up on criminal charges that are like, to use that line from Office Space, no, this is a federal fuck me in the ass prison, like that kind of serious, sorry to be rude or raunchy, but it's actually a good movie. Go watch it. And when they're plotting to just steal a penny a day or whatever their thing was, and the lawyer's like, no, that's a serious felony. You're going to go to like a major maximum security. But I think that's what it is. And this is where I'll shut up. And I guess I got embarrassed because I think I just embarrassed Clint with that comment there. I'm sorry, funny. Clint. I didn't mean to.
It was funny.
Yeah. But anyway, but I think that goes into your commentary where like they really have no other choice but to go in there with like just everybody stacked and just ready to stuff. I mean, just violence of action, to use our military vernacular.
Yeah, I don't think you could use the word shock and awe or the statement shock and awe any better than what's getting ready to happen, because you have people that he's put in the administration that know what needs to be done. They're smart, critical thinkers that are going to get in there and start. I want to see what Vivek and freaking Elon is going to do and start whacking this government, just chopping stuff, just get rid of it. I absolutely relish sitting there watching that Argentinian president where he's going fuego and he's throwing the departments off the chalkboard, and he got things turned around pretty quick once he started chopping away at that government. And that's exactly what we need. And like I said, the stuff that we need to immediately turn things around, Trump's already got that because he's already done it. He knows exactly what to put back in place. Sign, done. Now we can get on to the next things that are the big problems and start fixing these things like our commerce. And as a business owner on your side, Mark, and as a business owner on my side, and every single brand partner that I talk to out there, they are all struggling. Everyone is struggling. The big businesses, the small businesses, the families, everybody's struggling. Everybody, and they are ready for some change. I get steamed every time I walk out of the store and I got 3 bags of groceries and it's a Benjamin.
Yep.
I'm pissed off when I got to go fill my truck up. I can't go somewhere because it's going to cost me a $1,000 to go drive somewhere. It's ridiculous. People are tired of it. They've had enough and they're ready for the shock and awe. They want to see it. You're saying you're going to do it. Do it.
Yeah. Hey, because I want to transition over to the Russia, but that's a great comment right there. I mean, that's exactly it. We all know what we're talking about. We all feel it, and I don't care if you're still making 6 figures, your life is different. And that 6-figure income isn't 6 figures. You're a husband, wife, 3 kids. You're living in a, $300,000, $400,000 house. You're both driving, 2022 vehicles or whatever, that is still real money, and your money is so much less. And then you may have lost a shit ton in investments or, and just like you just said, hey, 3 bags of groceries and it's a Benjamin. I mean, and again, I just bought, a bag of groceries today for $30. So, and again, it wasn't anything extravagant. This is the harsh reality everybody does see. Hey, you want to add to that? I'm just going to get something brought up here, and then, and if you're okay with it, let's maybe move over to the World War III side. You want to add anything to what we
Yeah.
just kind of said there?
No, I mean, I guess, like I said, I'm kind of excited to see the picks that he's got in there. I know, follow most of them. I know most of these people. There's a lot of what would consider outsiders. Even what, I'm hearing stuff right now on the deportation thing. I mean, I'll throw this in there. My wife was an immigrant. We went through the entire process of naturalization. It was not difficult, and it took a little time. It took some money, but we went through that process. It is not unobtainable. So, if you came in here illegally, then you came in illegally, and you're going to have to pay your penance for that, because there's a law. And like I said, if we're going to run the elections the way that the other side's going to do it, if it's fair, if you're doing it, we're going to do it. But the thing is we're a nation of laws. We need to follow those laws. And the current law is, if you come in here and you come in illegally, mostly the gotaways. Let's just start with the ones that have committed crimes and the gotaways. You catch one of them, you're gone. Don't ever let us catch you back here again. Period. The ones that came in here for other reasons or did it the right, got a court date, get some judges and start going through that. If they got a removement order, have them leave. I mean, we can't sustain this. It is not logical.
No, well, and it's not financially viable given our current financial situation, like, again, and you see that even happening within blue states and blue cities, where people, the mayors and the governors are starting to wise up, and like, well, the federal and then they start saying it's a federal thing, where then if the federal government, and this is to DB's point, and then if the federal government says, okay, well, I'm going to start, exercising my executive privileges, my executive power, then they suddenly want to say, oh, well, this is a state issue. So, no, but that has to be addressed. I mean, what kind of country and what message are you sending where you're allowing people, the very first thing they do is break your laws? And not just to mention, have they broken your laws on a humanistic level, everybody who's going through it the proper way, right? Like and it's taking that time and going through that bureaucracy and that nightmare. You're basically also just giving them a big double-barreled middle finger. Like, yeah, I don't care about your line and you doing it the right way. I'm going to cheat and nothing's going to happen to me, except just wait till you become an American so your tax dollars can go to help pay for me to break your fucking laws and skip to the front of the line. Yeah. Hey, I got it up here right now. I'm going to bring it full screen. And if you want to maybe just add some commentary on, I got to go back to the page so I can scroll on, who's who in the hood and what your thoughts are on those guys. I mean, JD Vance, Vice President, Clint.
Yep. I mean, so far, like I probably say this more than once, critical thinker guy, he's lived a tough life, a lot of life lessons. I think, but the good thing about Vance is he doesn't come with a lot of political baggage. But the other thing is he's kind of coming in clean. Was great on the campaign trail. The one thing I want to see him is I want to see him right seed riding President Trump this whole 4 years. He has got to become very savvy on the direction that the country needs to go. Because if he is not knee deep in it and this 4 years of Trump is not wildly successful, we'll lose it in 4 years. We need that additional 8 years to pull this out of the nosedive. So we got to have this 12 years, 4 years Trump, 8 years Vance, and hopefully it's extremely wildly successful. They break down the government a little bit and he turns into the president.
I just want to echo two things Clint echo one thing Clint said, and then I'll work my way towards an explanation in case people don't know what the term is that Clint used. But I agree, Clint. So again, what I've been very open about saying is we've got if we can survive the next 180 days, we've got a chance. That's kind of my white pill, right? That's I don't want to be too gray and glum in the skies falling, but I think there's still tons, and there's going to be tons of obstacles, which is kind of the larger point you just made. This is not an overnight fix. This is a generational event. I was just talking to somebody else last night. This is the type of things where the me and yous, our age, our generation, we just might have to this is our time to shine. This is where we're going to have to shoulder even more burdens and put up with like being poor and scraping a living, because it's going to take, and I agree with you. I'm saying 6 years. You just said 8 to 12. Yeah, at a minimum, best case scenario, we can fix this in 6 years. Best case scenario. Yeah. Realistically, I think you're right. I mean, we need this, boys and girls. We need to do the heavy lifting as a people, as a culture, as a country. It isn't going to be solved in one presidency. It just, I mean, and if it does, hallelujah. I mean, holy shit. But no, the damage is so great financially to our markets and our institutions, financially, and then our institutions, the graft and corruption, the culture wars, we've allowed one side to pit people against each other. And I think what we just saw this election is people waking up and realizing that we're being, and Clinton and I have talked about this before, propaganda and all these, MK Ultra, all this other type of stuff, but propaganda, this is real and this has been happening. And you just saw a whole bunch of people kind of get rid of the blinders and say, hang a second, why do I hate that guy based on the melanin content of his or her skin? That's stupid. These guys are fucking me over just as much as they're fucking these guys over. So, there is hope, but you're right, Clint. It's going to take, I'm giving it best case scenario 6 years. I think you're probably more on track where we'll see it happen. If we can hold it for 8 to 12 years, we'll start really seeing it turn around in that second, Vance or conservative or MAGA, whatever you want to call it, administration.
Pretty mind-boggling to me that, Trump came out as a complete Washington outsider, came in there, disrupted the plan, came in there and kind of started catching some air under the wings, bam, the pandemic. He reacted the way he could, but he had a whole bunch of people in there he really couldn't trust, giving bad advice. So it kept that, even though we skipped through that administration, if we wouldn't have had that, and we would have had the minimal amount of the left supporting Trump because, make America great again is good no matter who you are. Let's live in a country we want to live in. And, so we needed that 8 years of that, but they played that game just right. They messed up his administration. Then we got a really good whiff of the smelling salts of just how low they could go. And that really was like, this is starting to hurt. And it brought everybody out. We're kind of on a different trajectory right now. He ain't in the office yet. We're getting close. But like I said, he's been pretty good on delivering on things. Let's see if he comes in there with more allies, outsider allies that come in there and can run this thing better. And like I said, the proof will be in the pudding. If things start, gas prices, drill, baby, drill, gas prices, groceries that are not poison. I mean, I'm telling you what, I've eaten more junk food in my life than I like to admit. But I tell you what, I'm a label reader now. If it's that long, I don't want that. I want the one that's got 5 ingredients in it. I've changed some of my eating habits a lot just because if I can't pronounce any of the words, I don't want it.
And, and what, for me personally, what I really like about that is because that's something, because of my physical things that, caught up to me a little bit, later here, these last couple of years in life. I just want to get back to that holistic, natural, I want to provide more for myself, my own potatoes, my own, like I said, I don't want to consume something that I can't even pronounce, 75% of the ingredients, no, that's just not the way to do it. Hey, just before I forget though, sometimes, we slip into our vernacular, what we know. Clint said, right seat ride. So like the right-hand seat, the passenger seat of a vehicle. It's kind of a military thing. And it probably actually came from the business world because, we get honestly, it works both ways. I mean, there's a lot of things of the business world that the military will adapt and vice versa. But it just basically means like if Clint is the current commander and I'm the incoming commander, we just call it a right seat ride. I'll come and spend some time like I'm riding in the vehicle. Clint's driving the vehicle still. He's taking me around. He's showing me the sights. He's showing me how to operate the transmission or whatever it is. And I'm in the right seat as a passenger, just absorbing all this. And so when you were talking about JD Vance, right seat riding it, I think that's a great analogy. This has got to be one of those administrations where that vice president isn't being treated like the standard vice president. If we can trust him, he's got to be learning from the master. And he's pretty good at a lot of stuff right now. I mean, I've seen some of his interviews. The guy ain't, he isn't dull. He's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
There's a lot that he could learn from Trump.
Yeah, like you said, Mark, explaining that, the one thing about a right seat ride, no matter when you're coming in as to lead or take over an organization, something like that, there'll be questions that come up. Well, why do you do this like this? That gives that incoming person a little bit of time to understand what has been happening, so they don't come in and change something to something that's already been tried and doesn't work, and they get the reason why, and they go, okay, that's why they did that, so I'm not going to implement that policy because it doesn't work. And they explained it to me, and it makes sense if you're a critical thinker to not change something back to what's not going to work, from where we came from to where we're going.
Yeah, amen. And so I really like that, and I think that's that gives us some hope. And then we were kind of starting to look at the cabinet picks. We can come back over there real quickly too, but I just want to bring up DB one more time. I think DB's still with us, but I do like DB's kind of comment here. Hopefully, it's not his last one, and that kind of ties into what you were just saying, Clint. The right seat ride and making sure Vance is up to speed. And we keep moving this ball, if you want to use a sports analogy, we keep eating up the, 10 yards, 7 yards, 15 yards, so we can score a touchdown here somewhere in the next, 8 to 12 years. But then I like DB's point is, there's going to be a reckoning. I am vengeance, but I like his point. But whoever on the way out, if we can fix it, the way to fix it is to think of this as the MacGuffin, from a movie, whatever this thing, magic amulet is, or the ring of power, that's given you you've got to throw that in, in Mordor or, whatever that volcano was, or you've got to break it and destroy it. So it doesn't happen again. I like that comment. You want to add to that, or do you agree or disagree with that, Clint?
No, I guess my thoughts on that are, if I understand where he's going with that, it is, it's a flawed system in some ways, and we know that. But the separations of power with the judicial and the legislative and the executive branch, we're seeing how some of these things don't work, and how they could have ever missed having term limits on the representatives is beyond me. How could have they missed that? And I could see, getting in there and legislating and investigating and oversight and the power of the purse, all the stuff that they have to do. They got to know what they're doing, and they need to have some overlap. So I think that the longest somebody can be this is just my Clint's opinion. The president can be the president for 8 years, as long as he's doing a good job. I think that no representative should be in there longer than 12 years. I think only slightly longer than the president, because as a freshman, they're learning how everything is working. They're not even going to be real effective for the first 2-3 years. They're going to be up there learning. They're trying to figure out, vote, how we do this, So once they finally get smart and educated, and they're an asset being there to know what to do. But on that thing, being there 12 years, and I've heard Trump already say this, and some others have said it, they're looking at term limits. I mean, could it really happen? Because, why would anybody vote, to terminate their gravy train? We all know that. Why would they vote to get their own term limits? But I'll tell you what, that's, like I said, Trump's going to do the easy stuff first. Maybe we can get to that next stuff that really needs to be fixed, because insider trading and an indefinite, job in the government, that shit's got to go.
Hands down. And I hope this is where the I am vengeance and the disruptors, that should be the name of whatever his cabinet, like turn them into superheroes and just call them the disruptors, not the Avengers or the defenders, the disruptors. You're absolutely right, and we all know it on just a visceral emotional level. It has to change. Back to your point, how did the founding fathers who wrote the world's up to this point greatest document, how did they miss that? I personally think because they didn't really ever believe that somebody would be able to sit as a senator for 40 or 50 years. Like, yeah. I honestly didn't. I think they were just like, are you guys going to be that stupid? Like, I just didn't think they envisioned that people would keep voting Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell into fucking office, or Joe Biden for their whole fucking lives.
Like, I really think it was an oversight. It was like, hey, go serve your country for a little while, but I didn't mean forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, because they were much closer to modern, classic, history. Like, you think about Cincinnatus, back in the day, where it's like, he like, no, we need you. Like, and I think their minds, like, and I actually kind of like that, hey, let's just say, Clint is your senator. And again, he gets 2 terms. He's running it second. But if Clint is doing such a great, like, Clint can never campaign after the second term. Clint can never, his name doesn't even go on the ballot, but you can write his name in. And if the vast majority of the people write Clint in because he's, the modern version of Cincinnatus, okay, well, then there it is. Then there's your calling. Like, the people want you. But you're absolutely right. That has got to end. The insider trading has got to end. And if this administration, and I would just challenge anybody who watches this, who's watching live or on demand later, again, these guys are Nazis or whatever. Dude, this is where your side of the party used to be. This is what I grew up with as a kid. Like, no, we don't want we're basically talking about limiting the power and the scope of the government. We don't want people to be career politicians. DB, I wish he might be able, DB, if you can leave a comment in the chat, but he's from Nevada. I think they have something like that in their state constitution where it's like, you only come together a certain period of time to cast, to vote on things. And then the rest of the time, now we know that's probably not what happens. They don't go back to their day job at the, at the drugstore. They're probably schmoozing and campaigning, but they're there. And then, no, you don't get to sit here in these halls and then just like
become a lobbyist.
So it's at least, yeah. So that's kind of moving in the right direction. But nationally speaking, federally, I don't care. Left side of the aisle, right side of the aisle. There should never be again, our only debate should whether it should be 2 terms or 3 terms, just like Clint said, but nothing, no more than that. That's it. And then if you don't, then you're done. Move on. Go do something else in life. Make a contribution someplace else for your county, your state, your town, county, state, or your country.
Yeah. I guess the founding fathers in some way just, figured there'd be more scruples when it come to that, and people wouldn't be there for, 46 years insider trading, knowing everything that's going to get passed. There was, these people are going to have some morals and, scruples. They just won't do that. Mad at legislature.
Yeah, that's the answer to what we're just talking about. Yeah, so there it is.
Yeah,
120 days every 2 years. That's it. If you get elected, that's your time. And, and then all their other, all of the other, whatever that would be, 400 and, whatever many days, 500 some days, you're not even there. You're not doing anything. So,
Mark, let me jump in on one thing. I saw somebody talking the other day that really something that made sense to me. And we're paying for all these representatives to, senators, the congressmen to fly back and forth to Washington constantly. And we're sitting here right now having a conversation, discussion. Why do these people got to fly to Washington? They can do this from their home state, vote, the stuff you do it all by computer. Stay in your home state. What do you need to go to Washington for?
Well, that's what they should be. And that's a damn good point. Just like this administration's talking about moving a lot of the bureaus and the agencies, the departments out away from DC. Break that fucker up. You're absolutely right. In today's day and age, now they're going to argue, well, I need to have a secure means of communication. Dude, there are cameras in the floors, right? Whether it's the House or the Senate, are videotaping everything. It's being broadcast live on C-SPAN. There's nothing secure. If you want secure, you go to a SCIF, and there's a SCIF in every state. There's no state in this union that doesn't have multiple SCIFs. And why do I say that? Because every state has a National Guard, and every National Guard, at least at the state headquarters level, has a skiff, right? So, and that's the seat of power, right? That's where your representatives and your senators are supposed to be anyway. So if they need to do something, they can go over to the skiff and then use that type of software, that more secure software. But that only, and again, to that point, but not every politician needs that. That's only if you're in select committees and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So back to your thing though about God dang it, FBI and Mayorkas refusing to come and testify and trying to use that. Well, the only thing we have to say has to be said in a skiff. Okay, then let's go to the skiff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Where are you? You were supposed to be here. You know, we can instead of in here, we'll go in there. You know, but like I said, my opinion on that is they just, like I said, they've got nothing to lose at this point. They're 45 days, 50 days out, whatever it is at this point, you know, and they may as well, why say anything else? We've already done all the damage we can do.
Okay, so on that note, there we're at an hour 20. I don't know how much you got, about 10 more minutes, because I do want to bring up the Russia thing. All right, so okay, but last thing to put a pin in here for your comments on this, to DB, and DB, thanks for, you know, DB's actually doing stuff with his kids right now, and he's over on Twitter, you know, watching and leaving us some comments. I appreciate it, DB. But he just wants to clarify, and then I kind of want to bring this up and turn it over to you for your final thoughts on this segment, Clint. He hopes that Trump reduces the power of the presidency and the federal government as his final act after dismantling all of this, you know, just way too big government we have. Dismantle all that shit, use the mandate, use the, you know, the ring of Sauron against him, and then once you've destroyed it, then destroy the ring so no one else can use it again, right?
Yeah, my question about that is what, if you've talked to him more in depth about that, what powers exactly is he talking about limiting?
Well, so just the like trying to destroy the filibuster or trying to stack the Supreme Court, all the things that the left has been talking about wanting to do over the last 4 years, you know, hey, when we're in charge, we're going to do this and we're going to censor this and we're just going to ram this bill through. I think what DB is ultimately getting at is, okay, well, that's what the rules you guys wanted to play by. I'm now, you know, in a very, you know, again, I just resoundingly won both the Electoral College and the popular vote. You guys wanted to do a popular vote thing and not, you know, in other words, like all of the stuff that they are accusing him of, like, oh, he's going to lock people up and he's going to arrest his. No, you guys have tried to arrest your political opponents. This is what you've tried to do. I think DB's ultimate point is use the actual legitimate power of the Constitution, of your presidency, of the executive branch, whatever you can leverage, use that fucking power now. And then on the way out, though, break all those toys and let this power go back down to the states and the individuals where it should have been to begin with. Use it to stop this madness and then break it so there's no more big government in the future going forward. I don't know.
I think I understand what you're saying. And I see as indicators that that's exactly what Trump's intentions are, you know, and it was the thing with, Oh,
I'm just popping up people's comments. Yeah. That's a pretty funny one.
Yeah. But I think that, you know, filibusters and stuff like that, that's over in the House and the Senate. You know, that's not really a presidential thing. And I think if a president tried to come and use some kind of executive power to do that, I don't think that'd ever fly, because that's a separate part of government, you know.
But hang on, but that's what Joe Biden has done. The Supreme Court said, hey, you can't forgive student loan, you know, and that's probably where that person from Pennsylvania got the balls to say, hey, I don't care what the Supreme Court said. I'm going to do my own thing. The laws,
yeah,
you know, we've already seen it. This government has imprisoned its political opponents, has totally just made decisions and try to enact policy in totally in the face of the rule of law.
That's
just to your point, you mentioned illegal immigration earlier. It's 18 USC. It's already on the books.
Yeah,
we've got governors and dude,
but I don't
Riley
think
Lakin.
the president's not doing that the secretaries are doing that because they're not being held. I mean, if you or I did that, you know, in our jobs in the military, we'd be court-martialed, or, you know, they go, whoa, I told you to do this, you didn't. It's like we're at the very top of immorality where there's no check. You know, I mean, when you're talking about the Supreme Court, or they're trying to pack the Supreme Court, that's between powers. And I don't see the president doing that. That's the representatives in the Senate. And, you know,
well, but we all know that the presidents can influence his power over, and try to, you know, like, hey, this is what I want to see done. You're going to get on, you know, team, you know, whatever, and do this. And I think that's what we just saw happen in the last, again, 12 out of 16 years. Hey, DB basically chiming in, just so I just want to read this just to clarify, so we're not misrepresenting David. Give more power back to the states. See, that's what when he and I were talking, that was the whole thing. And that's where I'm a big believer in that. Way more power should be back down to the states and not at the federal level. And for everybody out there who's talking abortion, you do realize that's not a federal power that's a state level issue. And that's all Trump did, is like, we, the federal government, shouldn't be deciding your reproductive health care, or however you want to phrase it. That's at your state level to figure out. And that's what David's saying. And that's what I agree with.
The state is dealing with is the repercussions of the lack of personal responsibility, you know, because that's actually my right. That's my spouse and my right.
Yeah. But now, yeah, exactly. And then that actually then goes down to people to start pointing that out. But so again, regulating things, so again, Department of Education is another great example. And I agree with that. And we could pull up his pick for education. He does have his education pick, but I think that's another thing, just to DB's point, and I think to yours too, Clint. I mean, I agree with, no, that should not. Why do we have a federal Department of Education? That should be left up to the states. That's not what your federal government has no role in that. It shouldn't be. And when the federal government gets involved, it tries to boss people around and try to bully people into doing whatever that current administration wants to do. And this has always been my thing. That's what you get when you have big government. You want small government, so it doesn't matter. So when you lose and the other guys are in charge, they can't start telling you what to do in your bedroom type of shit, or in your classroom. That's up to you and the state, your community. So DB, I hope I'm doing a better job of kind of representing your thoughts and your comments from our conversation. And then you just basically saying the things the president can do to reduce the power of the presidency. Laws should be the purview of Congress. So there's now kind of turning into the Russia thing, Clint. Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. That's another thing as Americans, why we've gone down this slippery slope and just let it happen. Yeah, okay, through executive order, like Obama killed an American citizen, and that American citizen's child, who by default is an American citizen, based on just executive orders, his own executive decision. That should never be allowed. We have gotten involved in so many conflicts in the last, let's just call it 75 years of American history, that haven't gone through the proper channels. And so this is where I'm going to come in. That's Congress's job, not the president making a presidential finding or an executive order and saying, I'm going to start doing these actions, whether the American people want it or not. That is my ultimate thing. That control, that power needs to be stripped out of there. It needs to come back to we, the people. And then maybe that's a good segue into talking about Russia, Ukraine.
I got one thing to caveat on that. And this is another one of my opinions. So just I've always been of the opinion that no military should be used unless it's imminent and you got to act right then because you can't mobilize stuff or whatever. But every single action that we take should be voted on before any military units it is used, and a declaration of war is voted on. And as soon as that is voted on, every level 1 and 2 task, everybody starts getting drafted to include every single one of those people that voted.
Yep, damn right.
So your kids are no better than their kids. So as soon as you cast your vote to do this military action, and all diplomatic diplomatic means have been exhausted. We have to do something. We're going to vote on it. Then there's right with that vote is a draft enacted. Everybody serves, and that's where you get the level 1 and 2 people. When it's a conscript military and you need people to lug around boxes and fill gas tanks, you get those people too. So your volunteer army, the ones that have experience, can start training. Because as a retiree, I was a little surprised to find out that really my retirement pay is keeping me on the payroll. Because
Yep.
if they start a war and they go, oh, well, we need a bunch of people come out here to Fort Benning or Fort Bragg to run the ranges, because we're going to put all these young guys and send them whatever, but we need somebody to run these bases. You're a retiree. We're going to call you back.
So I love, and we have not scripted this. I've never heard that comment before. It's a great idea, because I am deathly opposed to a conscript military, but I love the difference right there, and if you kind of maybe go back to like World War I, some of the models, some of the countries, England kind of comes to mind with a small professional military, the lifers, again, that's how that whole thing kind of terminology came up. I like that. Have your small volunteer army and have that, be the lethality part of it, right? That's your combat arms, and then like what you just said, all those other functions can be more readily and cheaply performed by civilian contractors. And then, or in a time of crisis, it's your level 1 and level 2 conscripts, like, okay, this is what you wanted, or this is what your dad wanted. You are now range control. And if you don't like it, like, and again, somebody say, well, they'll just do a bad job. No, you're a conscriptee. Your bad job now means, you get an even worse job. And the more you keep fucking around, the more you're going to find out. And the next thing you know, you're breaking big rocks into little rocks. And if you don't like that, then maybe it's the cattle prod and it's the isolation tank or whatever. I mean, there's consequences, right?
When you're getting ready to get invaded, it's all hands on deck. You don't get to sit on the bench,
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is when I got my DD-214, it says right on the bottom of it, you could be recalled to active duty for pretty much until you're 65.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I could be called back because I know how to march troops. I know how to shoot guns. They could tell me, hey, we're going to activate you and bring you back on active duty. I saw them do it during Desert Storm. And these weren't IRR people, inactive ready reserves. These were people who were retired.
Hey, if they called me back, would I be able to keep my beard?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Like, seriously, because again, I'm not throwing a ruck on or anything, Oh, and I can still do that, but like that, my beard doesn't. And the whole pro mask, your beard gets in the way with the seal of your protective mask, your gas mask, dude. I'm just like you said, I'm just gonna be marching troops.
You have to wear one of those patches that say "Great Beard Club."
Hey, let's kind of end it here. Just because I want to come back. So AVV specifically was the one who wanted to hear our thoughts on the whole Russia, Ukraine, and this recent administration's decision about ATACMS and Shadow Strike missiles or Storm Strike or Storm Shadow, whatever that's the UK missile. But just kind of showing AVV's final comments or comments about some of our conversation here. But Clint, let me just ask you this. Let's kind of like take the next 10, 15 minutes. I personally don't have a whole lot to add to it because what is there to say? But I think, AVV wanted to kind of hear your thoughts more of, so is this a bad idea? Is this a good idea? Is this the way we should be trying to escalate this from a tactical or strategic position? Or is this really nothing more than internal politics? Or does this even like allude to even something more evil, shadow governments trying to fuck the situation up before Trump comes into, January 20th, seems like a long ways away, but it'll be over, it'll be here before we blink our eye. So
what was bring me back to the exact question.
Well, so the question is, okay, so Biden, and I should have had the clip ready, Biden is on video earlier this year talking about the use of like certain landmines and the use of certain missile technologies, are going to bring us into a World War III, a shooting war with Russia.
Yeah.
Trump wins the presidency, goes and meets Biden. And then a few days later, the Biden administration, if he's even in charge, authorizes the use of ATACMS, the Army Tactical Missile System, the use of the ATACMS missile, and then again, the British, I can't remember if it's called Shadow Strike or Storm Strike, a very high-end, sophisticated missile system. And they gave these platforms to Ukraine, who immediately, like less than even 7 days later, used it to strike inside of Russia. Putin has come out and clearly said that the use of these type of Western munitions, if Western countries are going to give them to Ukraine and Ukraine's going to use that to strike outside of the theater of operations, or the area of operations, the AOR, AO, if they're going to use it to strike deep into Russia, which these platforms have the capability of doing, he's going to take that as an act of war by NATO and by NATO countries, and he's going to respond accordingly. And he did. And now there's debate on whether he used an ICBM or a new type of missile platform. But then once Ukraine, so this is a major escalation. Russia has clearly said this is a red line. And then we went and did it anyway. And then Ukraine did it anyway. And we're now probably 10 seconds, 30 seconds away from, on that nuclear war clock, 5 minutes to midnight, 2 minutes to midnight. Now we're 30 seconds to midnight. So does that ring now? Does that kind of help you understand?
My opinion on this is, I don't think I may ruffle some feathers here, but Putin's not a stupid person. I mean, he's a pretty smart guy. And I think even he can see this reeking of desperation. And I think he's showing an amazing amount of restraint right now, because I think he knows that this picture is so big. I mean, this is a big, big picture. I mean, who would want to be the guy that ended humanity? I mean, you have to look, because anybody that's sitting there has the power to do it is like, do I want to be the guy that fires this thing off? And, you lob one into the United States, it's coming back. Ain't nobody winning, So I think there's an amazing amount of, the deterrence of having nuclear weapons is a whole different thing of firing nuclear weapons. And I think there's a lot of restraint, but I think Putin's doing everything he can. The body mannerisms when Putin is talking to Trump, it's very respectful. I've seen it many times. They seem to mutually respect each other, and that's a big thing for Russians. And Putin, I mean, you can see it when they're talking. They respect each other, and I think Putin wants to get back to a Trump presidency. And I think back a little ways back when he endorsed freaking Kamala Harris, I think that was just a chess move because it was not helping her.
Well, I think that was also just epic level trolling. Back to your respect. I've seen Putin do some things. Like if you just go back, into his earlier career, he's done some things to clearly troll people. Before. So, he kind of gets it. Maybe at some, and look, and I've always respected Elon Musk, like maybe 6 years ago, really kind of started to listen to a lot of the speeches he was giving and the talks, talking about science and space exploration, clearly an incredibly intelligent, gifted individual, but that motherfucker knows how to troll people too. Right. So there's something to be said about that. I like your comment there. And maybe, okay, let me just turn this back into a question. So there's all kinds of rumors that there are numerous behind the scenes negotiations going on right now, very frantic, trying to keep the situation as calm as possible while you have some people, the outgoing administration, the people who have a lot to lose, a lot to fear, who seem to be pulling the Joker who just wants to burn everything down. But it seems that we see efforts to try to control it and prevent this from getting too out of control. I mean, we literally are, we're not 2 minutes to midnight. We're like 30 seconds to midnight right now. If you, again, use that doomsday clock thing.
Yeah.
I personally think it's being done intentionally because I think they're idiots. I think they believe they're just going to be giving Trump a shit sandwich when he comes into office. but because they've never dug a slit trench, they've never pulled one guard mount, they've never had anyone shoot at, like they don't realize the danger they're marching us into, or maybe they do and they just don't give a fuck.
Absolutely. And I mean, when anybody that's interested in the conversation we're having, really understands the good and evil here, and you just look at things and go, that is just sinister, evil stuff that's going on to manipulate this geopolitical, storm that we're in right now, that the Biden administration has created. And it's made the BRICS countries, want to drop the dollar, that is crushing everything. We've put ourselves in a bad position with no fossil fuels, going out, no gas, no oil, no fracking, nothing. It devastated our economy. You can't just turn it off, as Rambo would say. You can't just turn it off. You got to ease.
You can't just turn it off. You can't.
You can't just turn it off. You got to ease into these things. I'm all for freaking, renewable energy, but you got to come up with something that's going to work. You can't have a bunch of fans sitting out in our farm fields leaking petroleum products into our crops. It ain't going to work.
Just kind of bringing it back one last time on the specter of war.
Yep.
I know it seems trite and rote, and maybe when you're a young guy you think it's cool. I'm an old guy. I don't think it's cool. I just want to run my business and and make kick-ass outdoor gear so people can go out and have fun with their friends and their family, and then on a spiritual level, get out there in nature and learn and be better people as a result of that experience. I don't know, Clint, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think thermonuclear war fucks all of that up. I think that makes it a little bit more difficult. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say for sure. And I think that there's a lot of people in our industry that like tactical gear, backpacks, going and shooting and hiking and enjoying this life that we have, and going out and making the best of it, instead of sitting here trying to, I'm telling you, I'm 55. I remember when it used to be fun to live in this country, and it's gotten to where it's not very fun. Back when I was growing up, mainly in the 70s, I was late in the 60s, born in 69, the 70s, I was starting to really learn stuff, and it was fun back then. You didn't have, you can't let your kids go outside because there's predators out here running around all over the place. You got to keep an eye on them. Or, you walk into a Walmart and a gang fight breaks out between the freaking electric doors, and you're standing there and you ain't got a gun. And I'm just in here trying to get some vegetables. It's become a very dangerous country. We should be, thriving and having a good time instead of surviving, which is what we're in survival mode right now until things get uncluttered, and to get this government shrunk down where we're not paying all of our money out to pay for shit overseas. And what's amazing to me is you see people in Japan marching down the street because they're excited that Trump's either going to get reelected or gotten reelected. And you see people from Europe that are like, this isn't just a United States thing. This is a big deal because the ripples in the water are touching the whole globe. And
freedom. You can't keep freedom shoved down for, but that heavy lifting. It's nice to see that freedom balloon or whatever coming up and people embracing it. Clint reminds me that, okay, there's still hope, right? And boys and girls, there is still hope. That was a great comment right there, because you're right. Hey, if he's such an evil, racist, sexist, whatever, then what does that say about the rest of the fucking world, man?
It's amazing. The temperature just comes down globally. The vacuum of the absence of leadership, somebody that's a critical, logical thinker that, is thinking these things through. It's throwing everything into chaos, and it would, if the United States gets its head on straight again and, Russia's back. I remember there for a little while. I never thought that it would be this difficult when the relationship between the United States and Russia was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And I've met a lot of people from over there, man, and they're over there doing the same thing we're doing, just trying to live our lives. We got kids going to school, taking care of our cars, ain't worrying. And the terrible thing is like I said, I know people from the Ukraine as well. And a whole lot of people are freaking the whole a generation. I mean, like a whole male population has been decimated. I mean, their cities are all in ruins. I mean, it's just it's terrible. I mean, and like you said, Mark, you said it. When I was 20, I was all gung ho. I want to go to do this and I want to go do that. And then when you get a little older, have kids, and you start going, can't we work this out, man? My back hurts.
Yeah, I kind of just want to hang out and like make a really good dinner and enjoy the weekend. Playing, beanbag toss or what, or hunting or fishing or something. Like, can't we just work that out? And I think that is also, and then, so I'm so glad you said it. This is where I'm going to end it for me on this note. There's people who think I'm conservative, and I would just say, you don't know who I am, right? Unless you're like, part of my inner circles, or, one of these great individuals I get the chance to talk to and share things behind the scenes with. You don't know who I am. And like, man, I'm probably more of a tree hugger than you think I am. Like, none of this is cool, right? This is not what we want to do, period. Right. Yeah. But to Clint's point, if we have to do it, yeah, we should be the biggest, baddest mother effers, capable of doing it. And, I've always said, again, Teddy Roosevelt, I think Teddy Roosevelt didn't quite have it right. Walk quietly, carry a big stick. It was like, no, walk quietly. And if you fuck with me, I break all your toys. And then I just, my number's in the phone book. And when you grow up, you can give me a call. But every time you do one thing against me, I smash all of your fucking toys. Like, I'm not talking a big stick. I'm talking like a big stick, and whether that's like snake eaters like Clint, who just come in and next thing you know, that country wakes up and 98% of their political leaders all have their throats cut in the middle of the night. And then there's those two dudes left. You're like, hey, we may need to rethink what we're doing in America. Or, the rest of the country wakes up and the main city is nothing but a glass factory. Like, in other words, like, no, we're not fucking around. So I'm a big believer and proponent of that. But that's like the last result, as Clint kind of pointed at. Like, there's so many things we can do to avoid that. And if we're guilty parties, and I know we're sitting here talking about Russia here at the end and Ukraine, I'm going to end it. My last final comment: do your own research. Find out if we're an innocent party in this. Really get past the old bullshit media and Google and all that crap. Go out there and start doing some research and find out just how guilty we are in creating this shit storm that we're in. And then let that hopefully guide your mind and ask yourself, so why would people be defending this? Why are people so invested in it? Where is all this money going? Just do that usual suspects type of, start asking those type of questions. And I think you'd be coming back to where we are. It's like, why in the hell are we've wasted so much money and so many human beings have died for what? So a bunch of politicians can make a shit ton of money or cover up their crimes against humanity or whatever the issue is. This could have been avoided and dealt with so much more adult table conversation had we had adults in charge of the conversation.
And we got 4 years of a glimpse of the vacuum of immoral people running the country and just running it into the rocks, and they're right. I mean, we basically fallen out. We put ourselves in a compromised position, and some things need to happen to get right.
Yeah. And I just want to get right. Honestly, I am a pretty simple guy. If you've ever talked to me, I'm saying this out loud. I don't need to be a millionaire. I just want my one little slice of nature, raising my own crops, hunting, fishing, making great, like I have a pretty simple, maybe that's, maybe I should be striving for more, but I just want to be, and I just want to treat people the same way, and I want to be treated the same way. And we don't need half of this. We don't need any of this shit, I guess is my big thing. We got life is already fucking tough enough as it is. Just life, just the day-to-day grind, relationships, friendships, you know, children, you know, like all of that crap is already tough enough as it is. We don't need to be on the, like, hang on a second. Are you guys really like trying to incite a thermonuclear exchange? I mean, so we kind of skimmed over this, and I'll say this last thing, turn it to Clint for final comments and his out. Like the idea of a tactical nuclear device being used for, you know, only the third time a nuclear device being used in war is very real right now. I mean, I don't think Russia is going to start lobbing true ICBMs at the United States. But if we start using certain technologies and capabilities that start striking into deep into Russia, into Russia's heartland, I can easily see Russia just like nuking, though, you know, I could see him using a tactical nuke, Clint.
I can too, and I'm telling you, they should serve freaking Zelensky's head up on a platter to freaking Putin if he shoots one more missile into there, because that person is putting us all in danger with his games, and we're culpable.
Yeah.
We're allowing it. And I mean, they're down there trying to charge freaking Netanyahu with war crimes. I mean, we're not righteous right now with whatever it is that's going on in the Ukraine, whether they're biolabs or the military industrial complex is trying out some new weapons, you know. I mean, it's all bad, and we need to freaking stop that. And like you were saying, I think that whenever we should, what is that? Walk quietly, but carry a big stick. Is that the right way to say it? But I mean, yeah, you're right. We need to be strong, but through that strength, we need to be able to stop a lot of this stuff. And, you know, I personally feel like I'm carrying some of the weight of the culpability of what our government is making happen. You know,
because we were part of that. We were part of the apparatus. We were part of the,
well, not just in the military, as a citizen of the United States of America, we are being drug into this by a bunch of morons.
Well, but that's where I was going to go with it. Look, it's we the people. Yeah. Like, you know, you and I were in uniform or in the agency, whatever. You know, maybe we could have had and there's people in uniform and in the in our law enforcement and our intelligence organizations right now. So there is that part. But to your point, and I think, you know, kind of bringing it back, we just saw the people start to wake up and say, no mas, we're done with this, right? You know, this
absolutely
time the fuck out. But I just hope, to your point, you know, there is enough people waking up to say, hang on, we got to fix this, because this is what I'm saying. So we are all guilty at some point, because we've allowed our system to become so metastasized, so rigid, and so full of these type of evil motherfuckers that this is where we are right now.
Yeah.
We have got to course correct, or then, you know, you reap what you sow.
Yeah. I mean, we can, when we're talking like this, man, it's like playing tennis, man. We keep hitting the ball back and forth, but I'll tell you what, we're definitely in that. There's an awakening right now. There's some change. We're all keeping our fingers crossed that we can get this guy out of office before he really causes a catastrophe, you know, and we can get on to better days, you know, smaller government, less power, authority, tyranny. And I'll tell you what, if they thought January 6th was, you know, an existential threat to democracy, they ain't been in a country before where there's a real threat, you know, because I'll tell you what, that was nothing. Because if Trump really was a dictator, he could have really whipped the third fury up and got everybody riled up. And there could have been a real uprising, you know.
That's my favorite. You know, they all accuse him of things. I'm like, you know, he was in power for 4 years. Why didn't he do any of that stuff?
Yeah.
You know,
he could have done it. He didn't.
Yeah. And to your point, you know, like, you know, you've never really, you're just making shit up. You've never seen that. You've never lived and experienced it. And you have no idea what that would look like in reality. And the truth is, shut your freaking mouths, because we don't want to see that in reality. We don't want that in our shores. We don't want that in our cities. We don't want any of that stuff. So, you know, hey, just throwing up one little comment. Someone saying that you nailed it. The midget is close to ending the way we all live. Zelensky, the midget, and like, and that just, again, everybody, come on, like, seriously, Zelensky, and this guy's what, like, okay, I get it. Your country is at war. So you just go around wearing 511 gear all the, I don't know. And then, yeah, I don't want to open up another can of worms. Clint, I personally want to say thank you for being here tonight. I mean, and I know you got stuff going on. I hope everybody enjoyed getting, Clint's perspective. This is a little bit, not doom and gloom. This is real world. I mean, like, this is, what's going on. And I think there was actually a bunch of hope in here. Be like, there is chance, right? There is a chance we can pull this off. Clint, do you want to give us your final, whatever you want to talk about, final thought? What do you got?
Want to get me on here, Mark, and get me all riled up is what you want to do.
Yeah, because I know, it's getting a little bit late at night for you. So, that's just gonna, you won't be able to fall asleep for 4 hours. You'll be like, God dang it.
I don't know. I mean, when I went in the military, I really, really wanted to learn a lot of the things that I learned for me, because I wanted to teach myself about me and what I was made out of. And so being able to serve in the Ranger Battalion and in the Special Forces areas and get to travel the world and get to meet a lot of different kinds of people and see a lot of different things really gives me a perspective on things that I think people that maybe have never moved out of their hometown, give you a little bit of advantage, like yourself, Mark. I mean, you get out there, you see how people think, you see how people live. And, for me, I was the Special Forces. I had no preconceived notion that it was, it was hearts and minds, and it was about going out and doing what we do, which is integrating with people and learn how they live, and there's a lot of good people. I've been all over Central, South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, got to go to a lot of places and meet a lot of people, a lot of militaries, and a lot of cool people out there. So I think I have a pretty positive attitude on things. I want to see things go in a good direction. Like I said, I mean, keep positive attitude, but be ready to scrap at a moment. If you've got to, keep your axe sharp and your powder dry and all that stuff. But I'm really hoping we're on a better trajectory right now. And man, we just got to get this last 60 days behind us, and hopefully we going cool heads, prevail. Is that there's a statement I saw, you got H.G. Wells up there. There's a thing where he says the first man to raise a fist is the first man that's run out of ideas.
Yeah, you have run out of ideas, or you were quick to temper as opposed to quick to intelligence. Hey, I don't know if we want to jump into this real quickly. AVV kind of throwing out a comment there. His comment is really a little bit more on that tactical hand-to-hand, or just, individual side. He's kind of making a comment. How is dropping bombs or grenades from a drone on injured/unarmed troops? How is that not a war crime? I would just, my response, in AVV, he's a veteran as well. I just remember, my early days in the light infantry, and we were really focused on raids, ambush, direct action, objective type of things. And, and that was doctrine, like when, you're ambushing somebody, and as you're sweeping across that objective, the doctrine was, and you're double tapping and you're killing, like you're not there to take prisoners, and that was, but then once you've swept past the objective and now you come back, well, then it becomes differently. So I don't know if you want to address that, Clint. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. AVV, it's, that drone in itself is a weapon of war. Yeah. I mean, I see where you're coming from, though, which is like, we've seen, unfortunately, and I think this is just maybe, it's just, it's the unfortunate and the bullshit nature of war, and why we should avoid war at all costs, because of just the human suffering. You've already injured that guy. Is he really a threat? And then you're dropping more bombs on him. Well, he's got a gun and his side is trying to kill your side. So, I don't know. Do you want to take that, Clint,
I
or
want to ask, I want to clarify, because I don't know which side is he saying is dropping the drones or the grenades. Because
well, see, and then
both
I
sides,
didn't even get into that because I don't even know if he's talking about, like if he's talking about Russia or Ukraine, but both sides are doing that. I mean, so that would have been my response. So that's why I kind of just let
and
that one
that's
go.
what I'm saying. At this point, once this inertia starts, and you get into this quagmire mess, that we see over and over and over again, where people are making money, and the pawns, don't matter, so I mean,
Yeah.
from both sides, it hopefully it stops real soon, because you get to see that stuff real close up and personal, it has a whole different flavor, and yeah, I mean, there's some, again, sinister stuff that's going on. And you see Trump get elected, and you immediately see Hamas come out and say, hey, we want to end this thing. You see Ukraine pulling troops back. You start seeing immediate change in Zeitgeist, global Zeitgeist, the mentality. Maybe we're going to pull this to an end. Like I said, I mean, it's pretty bad. Stuff's just diplomatic means need to be exhausted and taken to the very end before this stuff happens. And also, on the other hand, somebody comes over and smashes your nose, and boy, you make that decisive move and it's time to go, then you go. And the question you were making about land of law, law of land warfare, if you're going to assault somebody and you move across an objective, and you're trying to gain dominance by killing the people in the kill zone, but when you turn around and you go back and shoot them again, now you're in different territory. So I mean, you hit a decisive point. What you're there for your mission, you do the mission. But yeah, I hear what he's saying. This stuff with the drones. I said something to my mom the other day. We were talking about a drone, and I was like, yeah, them things are bad. And like, you start seeing this stuff where they're going up in mass formations, these swarms.
Yeah.
That man, the stuff with the drones is getting real spooky.
Yeah, no, it is. And and this conflict is also kind of getting spooky because, AVV, we're not trying to punt on your question. It's a difficult question. There might not necessarily be a one solid answer. Both sides are committing, what you could maybe label as an atrocity. Here's an injured soldier. But again, an injured soldier doesn't mean they're a non-combative, right? I mean, like, they're a non-combatant, excuse me. If I'm still sweeping across the objective, it'd be great. You're crawling and your weapon's not in your hands. It's still within, again, the laws of land warfare, and the way I was trained and brought up, like, I'm still going to double tap you. I'm still going to do it because I can't move past you and then just hope that you're going to be nice after I run by you, right? You might then start shooting me or my buddies in the back. So I don't want to get into that. I mean, it's a little complicated, but I do think, to your point, AVV, we are definitely glamorizing, and we're making this cool guy stuff because we keep seeing all these propaganda videos. And, and unfortunately, because we don't see, because censorship and RT is banned, and, depending on what you're looking at or what your source is, like on YouTube, all you're going to see is our Ukrainian forces dropping bombs on injured Russians. I mean, so, but is Russia doing it? We, of course, that's taking place. So at the end of the day, though, I think what Clint and I are both getting at is this was a conflict that could have been avoided. This is a conflict that could be brought to an end. And why in the fuck would we not want to support that from humanitarian perspectives, just to end a war? So, dude, we're talking about 6 years to fix our economy, in my humble opinion. Clint talking about maybe 8 to 12. How long is it going to take to fix Ukraine? And why in the hell is BlackRock going to be involved in it? But fixing Ukraine is going to take billions of dollars and a lot of time. So, I mean, There you go.
And amazing, you sit there and hear Putin come right on there and say, I'm willing to stop this, but I'd just rather do it with Trump. I mean, wow. Because he thinks that the current administration has no credibility. They're the ones that have really been behind this, So you see right now that in 60 days, as long as we can get to that, January 20th, we can put an end to this thing and quit worrying about lobbing nukes. You know, my goodness. I mean, how do we get here?
Yeah, I'd rather let's just get back to the point where we were lobbing insults and hockey pucks at each other. I just watched Miracle again last night. Such a great movie. I'd rather just be back to that era. Hey, one other comment came in. We have a chance. Fight, fight, fight. Support the peaceful resistance to the two threat. To support the peaceful resistance to the to resistance to the actual or the true threat to our Constitution. And I hope that's what everybody kind of took away from some of this tonight. There is such the ability for both sides of the aisle to come to common ground. You don't have to like Trump. I didn't like your guy, but your guy was breaking the Constitution, and you know, and I don't want this guy to be able to do that either. But you guys have created a situation in which he might do that. And you know, like, we've got to bring in, you know, to DB's point and to others, you know, maybe he should do it, but at the end of the day, he's got to break the MacGuffin or the ring of power, so we don't do this again, and we get the power back in the hands of the people at that state level, and we can start being free again. And then Clint, I'll shut up and bring it to you, because like you said, life is tough enough as it is without the threat of somebody lobbing nuclear weapons, you know, around the globe. Yeah. Take us on out, Clint.
Yeah, I've got hopefully I've got quite a few years left. I mean, I'd still love to go see a lot of places in the world, and I don't want everybody angry at us. You know, like, you can't go somewhere else and they find out you're from the United States and they're pissed off at you or whatever. I mean, we need that respect back in the world. You know, we need it. We should be able to go travel and enjoy our lives, you know, and not where we're at right now. I mean, this doesn't need to be like this. And like I said, I see it turning. I see it turning. So I don't know. I ain't got too much more to add to it. I think I've said most of it.
Well, I want to just say thank you again for taking the time out of, you know, your life and away from your family to share your thoughts with us tonight. Boys and girls, wherever you are on this big blue marble, if you're watching this now or watching on demand, I hope we've had, you know, made some comments that got you thinking or figuring out, you know, your own, or just maybe even helping you with your own thoughts and where your own direction and your own journey and how you approach this. And, you know, these Friday nights, these CLS After Dark, you know, we're trying to have fun, but, you know, this is a lot of very serious time. We're in a very serious moment in history right now. So hopefully you're having an adult conversation, you know, an adult beverage, and maybe we've provided you with just some things, some ideas to chew on and conversations. Leave comments. Tell us where, you know, tell me what you think. Hey, that was bullshit, or that was this, or I want to hear more about that. You know, we're going to keep doing this because this is way more fun to me. And I hope it is for you too, Clint. This is way more fun. Actually, I don't want to throw Clint. He was actually doing something very fun and then was like, oh shit, I got to go do the live stream. And then, you know, had to leave the fun thing to come and do the live stream. But hopefully you guys go and have some fun this weekend. You know, we still are human beings. You got to try to enjoy it, make the best out of it as you possibly can. But there's a lot of heavy lifting, boys and girls, and we're not anywhere near out of this. And we can't, you got to be in the ring. There's no more time to sit and be a wallflower and just sit and watch it. You got to get in the ring or we don't have a chance at all. And then it will be some horrible bullshit. So
I suppose that's what I was trying to say, Mark, is, I mean, I like getting on here and have an exchange of ideas and talk and, you know, make people think, you know, listen to different opinions. You got to do that. You got to listen to whatever people have to say. And that's how that exchange of information that how we get better. So I enjoy coming on, and like I said, I told you I'd be on tonight. So no matter what I was doing, I saw the preemptive email, and I skedaddled to get over here so we could do it, because if I say it, my word is good.
Imagine I'm trying to think of the Roadrunner Bugs Bunny, you know, like your feet are just like the wheels, you know, like, and you're just
Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, like that. So, all right, Clint, thank you very much. If you don't mind, I'll still try to just give you a quick call in a few minutes, just to do an after action review. I know we kind of went late here tonight. I know it's late a little bit your side, but boys and girls, we try to do an after action review after every video, just to, what did we do well? Areas for improvement. Anyway, enjoy your weekend, boys and girls. I don't know what else to say. Thanks for watching tonight. Thanks for leaving the comments. Leave comments, after you watch this, leave them in the comment section. Censorship is real. That's one of the ways. Like, why are we just now having these conversations? Because censorship is real. These are conversations that should have been taking place in the public square years ago.
That's right. We still have the right. We need to get on here and voice our opinions and listen to what people appreciate, the comments that people made. Gives us some thought-provoking stuff to talk about. And like I said, get some thoughts on it and maybe change some opinions or get smarter.
Right on. All right, rock and roll. All right, everybody, enjoy your weekend. Clint, again, thank you very much, sir. I'll give you a call in a couple minutes for AAR. Everybody else, I don't really have an outro for these CLS After Darks. Just go have some fun after dark. Meow, sailor. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. We'll see you. I got a bunch of video on demand, some product stuff for Centerline I'm going to do next week. We got Thursday of next week, Centerline. I'm sorry. No, there is no live stream for Centerline, the Loadout Live on Thursday, because that's Thanksgiving Day of next week. But we will be back here 1 week from now. We'll do a CLS After Dark the Friday after Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys are all fat, dumb, and happy, and we'll have a good conversation. Clint, any last final comments, words of wisdom?
That's it. Enjoy. Thank you for having me on. Enjoy the discussion, and I'm always up for it.
Hey, and go check out Nemesis Camo. The shit is badass. Right?
So,
all right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday back over here on CLS After Dark. All right, thanks now. Be good. Woo! Got to do a woo.